I'll be doing 2 journal entries in this video, and I'll talk about how I differentiate what goes in my Commonplace book versus what goes in my personal journal. But first, it is a new pen day today, and I'm very excited to show you. And it is a pen from Benu. Benu kindly sent me this pen for review, and I'm so excited to add this beauty to my collection. And for the reveal, which pen did I pick? I got Venus. And Venus is from the Tribute collection. Firstly, the color drew me in because I don't have any fountain pens in this color. It has these very subtle sparkles throughout. And the color almost shifts between green and blue depending on the light, and the gold foil accents really top it off for me. Also has gold foil on the grip section too. The gold ties in the Roman goddess theme perfectly, with gold being the metal of the gods. Plus the colors look like the painting The Birth of Venus from Botticelli, which I use in this journal entry. I feel like this pen perfectly encapsulates that painting, and I think Venus was a perfect name for this pen. I got this pen in a fine nib. I'm a fan of finer nibs in general. I do have another Benu pen that I purchased myself, and you can tell that I love Benu's gold foiling and gold glitters, as this pen has it too. This other one, this is Ametrine from the Talisman collection. You can see that it's smaller than Venus. And as far as what the pen comes with, it does come with a cartridge of ink and a converter, which I have already inked up this pen. I was too excited, I couldn't wait to do it on camera. So I did already put the converter in, and I inked it up already. And for the ink I picked Blue Hole from Colorverse. It's a pretty blue color, but it has like a tint of green. It's the closest ink I have that matches the body of this pen. I really do need some more aqua teal colored inks. So if you have any recommendations for an ink color, let me know. Now to the journaling part. If you haven't seen my Commonplace book video, I recommend checking that one out first. It explains in depth what a Commonplace book is, but I'll show you a real example of what I would put in this versus what I would put in my personal journal. But as a quick summary, the gist of a Commonplace book is that it's a place to collect knowledge from sources outside of yourself to create your own encyclopedia. And the personal journal is where I recount the happenings of my day and the general thoughts I had that day. So 2 different purposes for these, and I'll be writing in both today. I'll use the same painting by Botticelli as a sticker in both too. So let's start with my personal journal actually. Sometimes when I get a new fountain pen, I do a spread on it, and here are a couple of examples. So this is the day that I got my Pilot Custom 742. Oh, here's another one. This is the day I got my Sailor Procure Slim with a Sally color. So sometimes that's the most exciting part of my day, so I document it, and that's what I'm going to be doing for today's entry. And I'll also be writing with Venus today in both entries. So I did make stickers already, and this is the sticker collage that I designed in Photoshop. And so this is featuring the pen here. I like to include a picture of the pen. That way I know which pen I'm talking about. And then this is the painting, The Birth of Venus from Botticelli. I included some other imagery and assets in it too. But this is what the sticker looks like. And I'm also going to use this little sticker. So let's place the stickers. And so this is my personal journal. And this is, I don't have any rules in this one, honestly. My only general guideline for me is that I try to keep it light and keep it positive in here because it's easier for me to stay positive every day when I'm also staying positive in my journal. And if you haven't seen my Techo hiking video, I talk about having a separate journal for negative thoughts. And so if I have to vent, if I have any negative thoughts, it goes in that journal and not this one. I'm also not in that one every day, but this one I'm in every day. That's pretty much my only rule. Other than that, there's no format rules or really any other kind of rule. So that's the sticker here. And I think I want to do this in the corner. And so, the moment you've been waiting for, writing with a pen. I will say I do find this profile much more comfortable to hold than this profile. The step down right here between the grip and the barrel is a little further down on Venus. And so it's smoother here so it doesn't dig into my finger as I'm writing. Nothing really exciting happened during this day, so I'm just going to talk about all the little things that happened at work, basically. And I think I'm actually going to split my writing into 2 different columns. And I know I pick such a light ink, so it's hard to see my handwriting, but I love when the ink matches the pen. I will say, though, that the pen is such a smooth writer and it does flow beautifully. All right, and that is this entry. So I talk about work and receiving this pen and the weather. It's a short little snippet of my day. That's what's in my personal journal. And for the notebook, I use a Hobonichi Cousin since it is dated daily. I don't like having to put the date every single day in my entries. I find that annoying and time consuming. So I like journal entries that have the date already, printed on the page. And also there's more accountability, I'd say. If I miss a day, it's obviously blank on the page, and I don't like missing days. In fact, I haven't missed a single day yet. And so having it pre-dated also makes me more accountable to the journal. And so next I have a entry in my Commonplace book. And so my Commonplace book is more structured, and I do have rules in this notebook. So let me set this aside. I'm already a good way into my Commonplace book too. I'm at page 62 out of 176. So this is my Commonplace book, which you have seen before. I do have videos of me doing an entire entry of these too, if you're interested. My Commonplace book is where I'm collecting knowledge from a source outside of myself. In this instance, it is an article from an academic journal, and the article is called The Myth of Venus in Early Modern Culture by Catherine Belsey. So I'm going to write down her quote from the article, and specifically the quote is about Venus, and then I personally reflect on that quote. I'm not putting anything about my day or personal life in here besides maybe my personal thoughts on that specific quote. So that's how I differentiate between the two. And so I'm not in this one every day, but I am in my personal journal every single day. And the first step for this notebook is my dividing line here, and make a little margin. Then I made these 2 stickers for this entry. So using the exact same sticker, but collaged in a different way for a different purpose. Okay, those are the stickers for this entry. And I put my source information on the left side of my margin. And I'm using other pens for these sections because I do have a very specific way I do my Commonplace book entries. And the subject here is Venus. And the pen that I was just using there is the Pilot Custom 823 in the color Amber, and this pen here is the Sailor Pro Gear Slim in the color Megetsu. And this is an extra fine nib, that's how I'm able to write so tiny, and the Pilot is a fine nib. So this quote specifically is about Venus's image and how she appears in paintings and how people perceived her, especially from the Middle Ages on. So Italian painters had a specific way of painting Venus. But before that, before the Italian painters, usually the depiction was based on the imagery in poems from Shakespeare and Chaucer. It really wasn't until the Italian Renaissance when Venus's image formed this specific image. Because when you think of Venus, you're most likely thinking of this painting, or other similar paintings with her long, blondish, reddish hair. And the quote is interesting because it makes me wonder who decides, or who makes the canon, basically, for what these goddesses and gods look like. The very first person to depict them visually, they had basically determined what they were going to look like for everyone. Imagine having that power to define what something looks like for the rest of time. And I wonder if these artists are basing these images based on people they know in real life, maybe someone they even had a crush on. And I always think it's interesting to think about that. So I'm adding another quote here about who Venus specifically is. And that's it on the quotes. And so now for the personal reflection part. I actually did this, oh, here's the entry. I did this for this Oscar Wilde entry here. I wrote it in this dark blue color, and I really like how that looks. So I'm going to use Venus to write my personal thoughts. And one thing I want to note while I'm writing this pen writes very smooth. I'm impressed by how smooth it is. I've got no issues with flow, no hard starts, nothing. And the weight feels nice in my hand. All right, and that is this entry, and all I need is the date stamp. Since this one isn't predated like my personal journal, I do have to add a date stamp. Sometimes I like to put a notebook down to raise it up a little bit. Otherwise I press down and it doesn't press all the way into the paper. So that's what I'm doing here. Oh, I put it right over the date. That's a first. Oops. Here are my entries. And some final thoughts on this pen. This pen is obviously gorgeous, stunning, and I am so happy to have it in my collection. It writes super well, the weight feels nice in my hands. I'm very grateful for Benu for sending me this pen. So if you're interested in this pen, I have a link to it in my video's description. And thank you for watching this video.